Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video. Today we're looking at the Volvo C40 Recharge Twin. So this is a full EV. The Twin, of course, refers to twin motor. There's two options with this thing. We'll get to that a little later on. But this is the Twin model, which is the fun one. This shares architecture with the XC40, as you can kind of tell, sort of the small entry-level Volvos, if you will. The XC40, of course, comes in mild hybrid or plug-in electric, hybrid or full electric. Yeah, I believe all three options exist. This is only available as a full EV. The main difference, I guess, is the roof line. That would be the big one. Apologies for the road noise. The road's busier than I expected. This one kind of had, like the XC40 is a bit boxier, etc. This has a much, like a curved, looks a bit like a leaf spring, doesn't it? Roof line, which explains why there is no sunroof. And it kind of really tapers at the end here. You get these sort of unusual spoiler arrangements on the back. This is I think they call it coupe styling. That's a European thing. They insist on calling everything four-door coupe, especially in SUVs, etc. I don't fully understand all of that, but nevertheless. So as the roofline tapers, etc., you can tell it's the C40. Side profile, it looks pretty good actually. It's it's a handsome little thing. Big brash wheels on it, of course. They're kind of funky design, so you know that you're dealing with electric, because we can't just make them look normal, can we? And as we come around to the front, we get what Thor's hammer headlights, of course, because why not? And a closed-in grille, which again, if you'll excuse the bugs and stuff that are on there, tells you that you're dealing with an EV. It's a good-looking car, I gotta be honest. I like, there are very few Volvos, actually there are no Volvos, that I don't like the look of. It's a good-looking ride, it really is. Let's check out the back, shall we? Since we're here, right at the back, we get the double spoiler arrangement. I guess is this a spoiler? Nah, I don't know what this is exactly. Kind of looks okay though. And then you get this little lip spoiler right on the back of the fastback. I want you to note, I hope that's clear. See how the angle of that, because we'll talk about that once we get inside. So the hatch area in the back, of course powered, thank God, because can you imagine lifting it with your muscles? You get a decent cargo area, relatively high floor, massive charging cable. Look at this thing. Man, you could beat somebody to death with this thing. It's really thick. It's weird, just really thick. But anyway, there's plenty of room for groceries, etc., random sweaters, all that kind of stuff. It's good. It's no problem, actually. It's nice. Got a little pass-through for skis, because Europeans ski, don't they? And there we go. That's the cargo area. Since the lights are on, you get a look at these really interesting, which are blinking on the camera, but you get these really cool rear tail lights, and they have a startup and a shutdown procedure, which is neat. You don't get that on the XC40, so why not? Rear seats. So you'll notice almost immediately that this is wool upholstery. People are hit and miss when it comes to wool. I personally love it. I think it's a great fabric. I don't like leather. I prefer fabric upholstery, and wool is a perfectly fine option. Sliding in behind my own seating position, you get decent leg room. Headroom is, I've got an inch or so, which is okay. No real complaints with that. You get vents, your own vents. Look at that. Power down there, heated seats in the back as well, which is really cool. And more wool. I like the color. I like the feel of it. Some people say it feels rough, but I don't know. I don't buy that. I like it. I like it a lot. You get the center console with your cup holders, and that's about it. There really isn't that much fancy stuff back here. What you do get a good look at in the back here is this glass roof. Now this is fixed. It's completely fixed. I was going to talk about when I was in the front seat, but what the hell, we're here now. And that's perfectly normal, and it comes in all trim levels, which is cool. The interesting thing, and I think it has to do with the curved nature of the roof line, is there is no cover. There's nothing to block out the sun. It's just always open, which is, it is what it is, isn't it? I like a cover. Anybody who watches these things regularly, all three of you know, I don't really use sunroofs that often, and I don't like sun shining down into my eyeballs from on high. But anyway, it's weird. I only had one occurrence when I was driving where the sun was so bright it was shining through the tint. So it was okay. It was just strange. I don't think I've ever seen a car without a cover for the sunroof. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Right, the child locks. My children have been complaining about this all week long because, well, shit, I locked myself in the back seat. Is that one going to open? Nope. Okay, duly noted. Well, now you guys get a little bit of entertainment as I crawl my fat ass into the front seat. This should be entertaining. I'm going to take my shoes off here. Am I going to leave this in the video? Oh, probably because I'm an idiot, but here we go. Okay. Ugh. Oh, so fat. You know, since we're at this angle, why don't we talk about these? Look at this. It's just a manual leg bolster. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because when I first got in the car, I was attempting to, oh boy, this is going well. I was attempting to adjust that with power. Of course, there wasn't any.
But that was good because that had...
Hit the button on accident. Sorry about that. Grab my shoes. There we go. And the door is open. Thank God. Okay. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. That was not on the the schedule for today. Oh, I think I pulled something. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So the doors. The child lock thing is blocked, and I don't know what. You're supposed to put, no, see, you're supposed to twist it, but I don't want to pull this tab off because it's not my car. Weird. Overly complicated. So I've been acting like a chauffeur for my kids this week, getting out and opening the door. I just completely forgot I'd locked myself in. All right, deep breath. Everything's good. Okay, now back to the car. Front seats. Now I have mentioned before, put your foot on the brake. Kinda. Come on. Nope, don't want to do it. Okay, so the Volvo, you get the ubiquitous Volvo steering wheel. The interior is going to be very familiar to all regular Volvo users and enthusiasts. The dash cluster is the same. It just doesn't give you, I lost my breath. Wow, I need to lose weight. But anyway, so you get a fully digital dash cluster, as is typical. You get, here, let's pull it into gear, shall we? There you go. So you get your navigation in the middle. Hush. Yes, I know. Which you can turn on or off as you see fit. And that's pretty much your only adjustment. Right in the middle here is your trip odometer, etc. Gives you mileage information, and that's about it. You get this obviously doesn't have fuel, etc., but it does give you battery level, range. It shows you when your regenerative braking's working. This has one pedal drive, and that's all I use. I love it. It's really cool. Great system. It's weird to go back to a conventional car after driving something like this. I'm driving the Ford Ranger next week, so that'll be a little bit different. And yeah, so I love that. It's a really great system. The Google built-in. Well, when I had the Volvo V60, that particular unit did not work very well. This one seems to have a glitch or two. It's been fine for the last 3 or 4 days, but for the first 3 days I had the car, it would not display navigation here in the middle or here. And I know it's not a problem with the dash because this had no information in it, so it couldn't give any information to that. So I think this functionality was fine. It was a failing yet again of this particular thing. I don't understand the love affair Volvo has with these things, but I mean, I think GM's using a version of this Google automotive stuff too. So it whiffs of corporate fuckery, doesn't it? But anyway, is what it is. I wanted to mention that. So you get your heated seat controls and steering wheel in here, all of it built into the screen. I don't like that either. Anyway. Audio controls, etc. Some HVAC functionality here, etc. Wireless charging pad, very cool. You don't get those in a lot of Volvos yet. Excuse the can of bubbly. Center console, you get the bejeweled crystal dial thing. And this does not have a start button. It would typically go there in the XC40, but in this one, this is one of those just put it in drive and go things, which is weird, admittedly. But you sort of get used to it. The only thing is, like, sometimes when I'm waiting for my children, I sit in the car for a while, and I kept touching the brake to turn everything on, or turn the stereo on at least, so I could listen to something or whatever. But it was, yeah, I don't know, just use a start button. Everybody else does, even in their EVs. But anyway, yeah, and then there's that sunroof again, or glass roof, panoramic roof. It's very nice. I just wish it had a cover. Other than that, ooh, look at that, performance wool blend. Okay, duly noted. Let's go for a drive, shall we? Because that's where this thing shines quite brightly. Okay, I'm already in D. See, this is the weird thing about this car. I'm already in D. I'm not touching the gas pedal, but the e-brake is on. There we go. Now it turned it off. Just give us a start-stop button, will you? Such a weird car. Okay, so the Volvo C40, yeah, exists purely as a coupe model, or or a sportback, or whatever it is you want to call it, of the XC40. If you don't like the upright, boxy look, nature, or appearance of that particular vehicle, then you can get one of these. You know, it's a bit sportier looking. It's got the bare plastic trim on it, which I don't care for. You don't have to have that in the XC40 lineup. You know, yeah, I don't know. What can I tell you? This comes with, so you can get the XC40 in a couple of different trim levels. So you can get it with a single motor, which is a very pedestrian driving experience, or you can get it with the twin motor, which is an electric and a very fun driving experience. You get around 400 horsepower, a considerable amount of torque, and yeah, it's just a boatload of fun to drive. It really is. Here, we're at 30 and we'll put our foot down, and she goes. In that typical electric car style, you know, it just takes off like a rocket and then tops out fairly quickly. But yeah, it's nice. All-wheel drive. You also get all-wheel drive when you go for the twin motor, which makes sense. And yeah, I mean, it's the one I would go. It affects your range a little bit. You lose about 40 kilometers worth of overall range. I would gladly trade that for all the fun and enjoyment you get out of the extra motor, and of course the practicality of all-wheel drive. Where were we? Ooh, range, of course, the big EV question. So in the single motor version, you get about 450 kilometers of range. In this one, just over 415, I think. In the week I've had it, I would actually say that that's accurate. I drove the C40 about a year ago, and I had questions about the range that vehicle presented. This one, much closer to the mark. I've been averaging between charges about 370 kilometers. So that kind of puts us right on, because you obviously don't run it all the way through its range, or all the way through its battery. So yeah, it's been pretty good, I must say. So that's nice. Now, of course, that depends on how you drive, etc. So, but it has been consistent. I would call it accurate. The pricing. Oh, okay. So this thing starts right around $60,000 Canadian. This particular model, because this is the C40 Recharge Twin Ultimate Trim with some sort of special headlight, if I remember the spec sheet correctly. So this one tops out at $75,000. That's a lot of money. No arguing that. In fact, it's a boatload of money, isn't it? It brings it into the firing line of pretty much every other kind of mid-range EV out there. So your entire lineup from Hyundai and Kia, the entire lineup, the Ioniq 6, the EV6. It also, interestingly, brings you right in line with sort of the daddy, I guess, of EV SUVs, the Tesla Model Y. Model Y. I always get the Tesla models confused because I'm dim. Which, you know, starts right around $60,000 Canadian and tops out mid-70s, exactly like this one. So that, you know, and I mean, I'm not a follower of the cult of Tesla like some people, but it is something to consider. You know, they do have probably the best, some of the best EV tech out there. I don't like the way they make their cars. I give that all over to Hyundai. I think they make a much more functional vehicle. But Tesla certainly, you know, they're certainly kings of the EV, aren't they? So yeah, I mean, you have lots of options at this price point. This vehicle, the C40, also, they've chosen it as their no leather products, which is why you get this fabulous wool interior. So you don't get animal products, I think, in this car. It's like an eco choice, which is perfectly fine. I don't think we need to skin animals to make cars anymore, do we? We can make them all out of synthetics. Ironically, we'd still need oil for that, but nevertheless, moving on. it's expensive, but all EVs are. So, you know, you don't need this top shelf model, but you do need the twin motors. Please, if you're going to order this car, make sure you get it with the twin motors. You don't need all the other bits and pieces. This pano roof is standard equipment on all levels, and it's quite nice. You know, and most of what you see here you get. You know, there's some small changes in between the trims, but to be honest, I don't need any of that. So you could get into this thing for about $64,000, if I remember correctly. The base model plus $3,500 for the twin motor, and you'd be perfectly happy with that. You'd still have to live with this stupid thing, but other than that, it would be fine. But one of the big objections I have to this car, and I mentioned that roof line before, you can't see out the back. Like, can I show you what I see here? I don't know if that reads on camera, probably not, but you have just the thinnest little sliver to look through, and you can fold the mirrors down, which is perfectly somewhere in here, doing it while I'm driving, but you can fold the the headrests down, but it doesn't help. It's still just a really thin, you can't see nothing out the back seat. You can see who is directly behind you, but that's about it. Gives you none of the spatial awareness that I typically prefer while, you know, driving around on a daily basis. You know, that doesn't bother some people. You know, we rely so heavily on cameras and all that stuff. Maybe it just doesn't matter. I don't know. That's up to you. Outside of that, this is a really nice car to drive. The range is good. It feels well made. Doesn't make any weird squeaks or noises. You know, visibility problems aside, there are no functional issues with the vehicle. You got decent space. You get a decent amount of equipment. The range is confirmed as solid. All that stuff. And you can charge it on a regular household outlet. That's with that cable that you saw, the big monster in the back. That gets you about 20% over a 12-14 hour charge period. You know, you get home from work, you plug it in next morning, you get 20%. It's okay. It's what I've been doing all week. You know, except for one day when I tested the range, it worked fine. You know, that gives me enough to do my most of my daily drive. But you do have to plug it in all the time, which, you know, gets old real quick. So, you know, a level 2 is ideal. But yeah, that's it. That's the Volvo C40. It's a great car. You know, it continues Volvo's trend of really solid vehicles. You guys have yourself a great day. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day.